the goal is to have a discussion. And so Patrick's going to kind of frame the discussion, and he's going to talk about his product. But we're all kind of in a circle right now so that we can discuss ways that he can improve his product potentially, maybe new acquisition channels, new ideas, and vice versa.
We do events like this, every few weeks, and case studies. We had Noah Kagan in last time. Who knows who the next big surprise guest speaker will be? So thanks for coming out.
Thank you very much, guys. So yes, my name is Patrick. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Brandyourself.com. And before I start, I do want to preface it by saying that this is in no way meant to be any sort of preaching of the best way to market your product. I'm a first-time founder building my first company, so everything should be taken with a grain of salt to start with. But what I do hope to do is show you things that have worked for us and kind of show you things that we've done that work and haven't. And hopefully, that can start a good discussion on, and that maybe you could even apply to your own startups. So I'll start just a background. I'm going to go through a quick background just so people kind of get a background of what our product was and how we approach trying to find people for it. Then I'll talk about a tipping point we reached where we did all of a sudden start signing people up at a massive rate. And I'm going to go into exactly what happened because it'll be kind of cool to see where they were coming from, why they were signing up, and kind of go through that. And then kind of talk about retroactively what we learned from how that happened and how maybe you can, again, retroactively put that towards your own startup. And then other things that seem to work, which will really go into kind of discussion, where other things we do that seem to work, because we've tried a lot of things, some of them don't work at all. A few cool things you'll learn too, I hope that we've learned, how to find anybody's email. It's really helpful when you're trying to get press. How to pitch press for the first time. A lot of people I've learned ask how do you get so much coverage? Because you've been very fortunate to get a lot of press. How to help articles kind of trend and go viral, which I'll talk about. And then just other ways that get you started in front of a lot of people. So first, background, Brand Yourself. Very simple, started as a problem that kind of turned into an idea. The problem was my co-founder there. When we were in college, he couldn't get an internship. We had no idea why. Until we realized he was being Googled, and he was being mistaken for a job. The problem was, if you're like most people, you have no idea how SEO works. I happen to have a background in it, and the only other option was to pay a reputation company thousands of dollars, which just isn't realistic for the average person. So after helping him, what we want to do is create a product that helps anyone do that, put that process in everybody's hands. So that's what we did. We created a product that essentially lets you submit anything you want, we analyze it for you, and it takes you through the process of optimizing anything you want. All of you can check it out. I don't want to go too deep into the product, but just to give you an idea, we started with absolutely, we were 20-year-olds, we had no idea what we were doing, never built a product before, never built a team, never raised money, but thankfully we've gotten to a good place where we're growing our team. We have a lot of people, we've raised some funding, we've won some awards. So the question is, how did we get from A to B? Like a lot of you, anybody here have a startup or work for a startup? So a lot of you feel it started with a lot of designing, building, coding, which seems like for a lot. And when you think you get somewhere, it kind of goes into some more. And then once you get somewhere, it goes into a little bit more. And then finally, you're ready for launch. And we launched, that's a Huffington Post article. And we did really well, and growth was pretty good right out of the gate. We were lucky enough, like I said, to get press right out of the gate in most of the places you want press. And we were signing up a lot of people for a product like ours pretty quickly. But then as press, things start to slow down a little bit, and you're not getting thousands of people every day. And then we hit a tipping point where we started signing people up very, 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 very quickly. So the question is, what happened? So we didn't expect that at all. It was actually just when it started happening, it was honestly just a regular day. We released a new feature we were really excited about, but we release features all the time. This one specifically was, we gave, besides helping people improve their Google results, we started letting people, through their own profile you can build with us, or their other stuff, see who's Googling them, not just the normal someone from New York. We could tell them, someone from Ogilvy Googled Jim Armstrong portfolio, or someone from Syracuse University found you. So we thought that was exciting for our users to let them know what's happening. Again, we thought we'd release it. Yep.
Is that a paid feature or free feature?
The free feature. You can see your last 3 for free if you want to see them when it's paid. Most of our features are free, but we're almost entirely free. We thought we were hoping maybe this would get us a little press push and then maybe a couple hundred to a couple thousand signups if we got some coverage. So first thing, Mashable picked it up, which wasn't out of the ordinary for us, but if you see, this article did very, very well. It had almost 14,000 shares right away and ended up trending on the first page. So the first thing we saw was not all Mashable articles are treated equal. Just the fact that it was on the front page for 2 days because it was getting so many shares, so the algorithm kept it there. Like I said, a normal Mashable article was getting 639 signups. This one got us almost 15,000 just from that article. Again, which I'll talk about later, our conversion rate is always between 30 and 40%. We are converting a big percentage of traffic. Now, we've worked very hard for that.
What are people signing up for exactly?
For the free product, to just try our product for free. Again, we have a freemium product. I should have went into that. You can basically improve your results for free, and then there's some paid features. But anybody can sign up for Brandyourself for free, so I don't have to do it. But yeah, so that was our first thing. Now, not only did Mashable trending give us a lot more, once it was perceived as hot, other places started picking it up. Huffington posted a feature on it. TechCrunch, TechGear, all these places started doing it, giving us, again, if you see, we're still converting 40, 20, which I'll get into. Again, what's really interesting about this, as anyone in a startup will tell you, usually you get to pick one. Because as a startup, since you're not Apple, it's news, one person, you can't even pitch 2 people because nobody wants to do the same story. It changes if all of a sudden the story is really hot, then they'll all write about it, it turns out, because they don't want to feel like they're missing something. So that was something we didn't expect. The other thing we didn't realize is if you get a story that's really, really popular, techgear.gr, these are foreign places. They look for these places to find popular stories on front pages like Mashable and TechCrunch and write about them too. Now, when we started getting those to sign up, our first reaction was, this must be fake. So we looked into it, they were real signups. They came from real sources, from real articles. They created accounts, they submitted links, they were regular users. They paid at the same rate as everybody else. So now we have all these new users. Then we had all these new users begin sharing things. Now we always get tweets and Facebook shares, but now this was compounded even more. People sharing their scores, people sharing the fact that they joined up. Again, now directly, this could only, if you added up, add to a couple thousand signups directly. But what I'll get to is all of this culminated in direct and Google skyrocketed. Again, I compare this to what our normal direct and Google search, those are Google searches for just for our company name. It went up, look at 22,000%. So all of that together compounded and kind of, so even if you say that things like the social media didn't directly, all of those things were enough to someone to come back later and sign up. Because the correlation is just crazy. Obviously, all of this had a big effect.
What do you think, why do you think this happens from a user's perspective?
What I think would happen is, again, instead of just one article you read about, it was all over the place. People are seeing it on Twitter. I think the best we could say, it just must have compounded. So even if we weren't getting direct signups there, it was enough to have someone come back later or remember it. There's a PR, and if anyone has a PR background, they say, or an advertising too, the frequency is really important. You see it once, if it doesn't get you right there, but if you see it enough times, that's when you remember it and come back later. And I think that's what started happening. And then finally, all the new users created a huge long tail effect. So this is really interesting. We had 10,000 signups from places that sent less than 200 signups each. And actually, if you break that down, we had 5,000 that sent less than 100. So then all of a sudden, we had these long tail effects. And when we looked at where they came from, some sent as users to their own Brandyourself profile. So people can, by the way, not everyone does it, but most of our users build their own Brandyourself profile. It shows up high in Google. That's the whole point of doing it. So like this guy, for example, sent us 58 signups, again, at a 32% conversion rate. So you got lots of new users sending us lots and lots. And then we had a lot of users just writing personal blog posts. We had hundreds of just regular people writing on their personal blog about a new product they really liked and how it was helping them. So we created this long tail. So it's kind of, once we started getting more users, they started getting users for us. Now, what did we learn? So this just happened to us. Like, I didn't have a grand plan. That wasn't like it was a master plan at all. I just released a feature and thought maybe we'd get an article written. So a couple things we learned. One, when you release a feature, pitch the right publication. It just goes to kind of knowing your audience, knowing who your users are. Ours are really kind of people who really care about them, so Mashable really makes sense. If you have PR week, if you have the life improvement crowd, pick, if you're techie, TechCrunch. But pick, we always did something right. We picked Mashable to pitch. That was the first person I pitched for it. But the second thing is once you choose, it's actually time to pitch. This was really pitch one feature at a time. and make sure it's the one people care about. What I mean by this is we released like 8 features that day, but every time I wrote a pitch that included them all, I wouldn't even read it. You know, the less is more kind of mantra there. It'd be, I think I even have an example. You know, a lot of people don't realize like how to like think of it from the writer's standpoint. If I just every time I wrote like, oh, we released this and we made emails better and we made Google results more trackable and we did the really cool thing, the second pitch that helps someone do something really amazing gets lost and they don't want to read it. So pick the things people care about. And to hone that in a little bit more, the way to focus on the specific people, not your company. When I've done this before, when I wrote an article that he referred to earlier that got a lot of kind of traction about this same thing, a lot of people commented and asked, this is great, but how do you even start that process in the first place? How do you even find? Number one, how do you find a writer's contact info if you don't know it? So the easy thing, if you're pitching anyone, before you look for their contact info, you'd be surprised how often you'll find a connection that can connect you in the first place. Just go and use LinkedIn. See, there's that feature they have where you can see how you connected someone. If you go through the alumni network, especially if, you can find some way somewhere usually that can connect you directly. If you can't, which in my case was many times often because I don't have a very good network when I started, the way to find an email is find the email schema. Everyone has like first name at company or first name, last initial, or whatever it is. Easiest way again is find somebody in the company that you know and just copy their schema. It's going to be the same thing. If you don't, here's some Google tricks. Name plus email. This is if you just want to see you can just see if their email address is anywhere on the web once you know the journalist's name. Or find contact info, contact name, you find somewhere where they put their email address before. If they don't, what you can start doing is look for on their company website, somewhere on there. And then that final one right here, what you can do is see if anywhere on the website you can find the company schema. So just try each one of those schemas. And then something comes up. And if all else fails, like I said, their name, it's going to be one of them, right? There's only so many schemas companies use.
Patrick, do you use Reportive, or have you heard of this thing with Reportive?
I've used Reportive a very long time ago.
So with Reportive, you can plug it into Gmail and it'll pull in someone's all their social
profiles
in the sidebar. So if you put in their email, if it loads the social profiles, then you hit the right one.
Yes, so there's that's actually a really, really good one I haven't thought about. So besides using LinkedIn, the main takeaway here too is if there are a lot of ways to find someone. It's very rare that if you can't possibly find someone's contact info. Report is actually a really good one.
Another one is mailtester.com, so you can actually type it in and it'll check for you if the address is mailtester.com.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
See? Everyone can find someone's
One
email.
more. It used to be Jigsaw, but they were purchased by Salesforce.
Yeah.
Where you can, if you load in a certain number of contacts from your network, you get credits.
And then you can look up.
And you can search for other people. And it's about 50% of the time. It's advice.
Data.com.
Reported in the mail checker Jigsaw. Okay, but you have your email. Doesn't mean that they want to hear from you. So the other things asked is how do you pitch someone for the first time? Kind of going when I was going, but here's an actual email I would send to someone who's never heard of me before when I wanted a story. It's quick. This is even longer than generally I'd recommend, but this person didn't know me at all. So right away, I always say make it flattering, make it short, get to the point quick, and then make it honest and personal. So this isn't a template you can copy and paste because you'll see there's actually some personal that you actually have to know who the person is or at least do research. You start off, introduce yourself right away, flatter them right away. Big fan. I'm emailing about my company to see if there's a fit for a story on your publication. So at least they know don't save that to the bottom because then they're going to think, what does this person want? Just to give you a quick background, I always bold it so they know they can skip over it. But I give a little bit of your short spiel about the company. I always include a little story because it gives a little personality to it. You don't want to be really technical. You want to again kind of focus on that story again. Then at the last paragraph, again I get really personal and add a little credibility boosters. So while growth has been great, I link to an article so they see that we're not just some company that no one would care about. I've always wanted to see an article on your thing, and then you always find something, particularly because I think 2 articles you wrote a few years ago did an amazing job, and I'll link to those. As a long-time reader myself, I almost always get a response with an email like this. It's short, explains you ask what you want, it shows that you did your research, because they're so used to getting emails that are copied and pasted, or that just say, hey, we have a story, here's a press release, that they'll generally get back to you, and always come from yourself, because I think they like hearing from the founders and
Can we
stuff.
send out the template afterwards?
Yeah, I'll send out the whole presentation.
Cool.
Now, once you do that, and they write a story, does well, you have a relationship with them, you want to get stories again, right? And there's a trick to that too. A lot of times they'll pass. What I do, I call write the story for them. When we get stories, if you see here, hi, hope you had a good weekend, just want to let you know we're releasing an infographic. They actually, they'll actually use that paragraph right there. They'll end up using it. I'll even say, I'll give them headline choices, but I'll do it in a way where I'm not quite saying it, but I've done the work. Here's an interesting angle. This is why your reader would find it interesting. Here's some conclusions. But the point is, you make it so easy where they can just, they have to put out content so much. So once you have it, don't just pitch them and see if they're interested. Write the story for them. And then I've had articles written about it that I've pretty much written top to bottom, because we'll go back and forth. Oh yeah, but here's a cool conclusion if you think about it. Here's really important. Focus on your sign-up flow. This was a big thing for me. Now, just to put this in perspective, overall, and we generally stay in the around 30% range. We work very hard to do that. Now, just to put this in perspective, when you have a free kind of consumer software, the rule of thumb in the industry is 8% is pretty good, if you convert 8%. So we're way ahead of that. And is it worth it? If we had settled for 8% and not pushed, that would have been, I think, almost 40-something thousand less signups, and that would have been considered good. So we really put a focus on.
What are some quick things that you did to push that conversion number up?
So that's
You had 8%? Okay.
So I can go as deep in this as I want. I have a kind of an intro, because this isn't a design course and this isn't so there's an ideal homepage. The way I usually generally do with a homepage is everything that a person would need to know to decide to sign up should be above the fold. And a lot of people make that mistake. I'll get into it. Now, you should have information, you should be able to explore more, but above it, your headline should explain. You'll see a lot of people screw this up. It shouldn't be abstract. A lot of people like to do it abstract. It's like an old advertising concept where you're supposed to focus on like the really high level benefit, like LinkedIn's, for example, would be something like control your life, and it's like I go the other way. Specific headline, explain exactly what it's going to do. A little bit more information about it. Really, really, really easy to sign up right from there. Credibility booster, more information. Credibility booster could be a logo that you got press. It could be a testimonial. Anything that makes, I love press a logo because it kind of associates in the person's mind like, oh, this is kind of, I recognize that thing.
How many clicks after the sign-up process? Like, are you using Facebook today?
Yeah, so so here's an ideal thing. So here's like general, and then there's little things you can go above it. But in general, everything you need to know above the fold, a credibility booster somewhere they can see, so before they make a decision, that kind of does the hard work. Oh, New York Times wrote, I know New York Times, that's a big thing, that seems legit. Here's a pretty good homepage, this one's ours. Again, headline, improve your own Google results. We want to do something, you said take control. It's just really simple, and the second thing is make sure people find the most accurate, relevant results about you. A little bit more description is that we're the only do-it-yourself platform that covers anyone. All right. Really, really easy to sign up. Now we did a couple things. Adding a form on here instead of just a button, that's a big thing, and it's different for other people, but what we found was if you don't do a form, you get more real estate to say stuff, and that's what we wanted to do. When we just took the form away and kind of took things with less words, conversion went up really, really high. That was like 5 or 6%. Adding sign up with LinkedIn and Facebook, even if they don't use it, really that adds a couple percentage points. Now that gets even more. Like if you're ever doing something like posting out, like when we post from Twitter or so, and you do a Twitter one, that's what they were using. Makes a big difference. Again, form, you sacrifice real estate, but for us it just increased conversion rate. Because for us it was enough to say, yep, I want to do this. Just make it easy to sign up.
Were you A/B testing this when it was going on?
Oh yeah. Well, we were A/B testing before this. So this was, thankfully, we had spent a long time doing, leading up to this. We're always testing. So we weren't testing during. That was a 3-day big thing. We weren't testing during that. This is just one of the things we arrived at, and we're redoing everything. And we're constantly changing things. And then again, we've tested all our pages, what information, but you get more. Here's a really good homepage. Well, I say this is really done. Really understand what's going on with your money. I need that. Big green button. Pictures look legit, really, really good homepage. It says everything we talked about. Everything you need to know is right above the fold. And then if you need more information, you get it. I don't even need to scroll down. Now, there's obviously bad homepages, right? Like everyone can look at something and say it's ugly, too much information, and I don't want to talk about that. But going to what I said, there's some not obviously bad homepages. It's the same design, but I say it's deceivingly bad. And the reason is, less is more here, sure. I have an easy way to sign up right away. The design's so nice and it's credibility boosting in and of itself. But unless I knew what this was going in, I have to go beyond. I have to click somewhere else. I have to scroll down because built for big ideas. I have no idea what that means. I honestly don't. I happen to know what this is, and it's a beautiful design page. And then look at the introducing flow. The secret behind thousands of super productive teams. Again, I don't know what this is. I don't want to sign up yet because I still have to figure out what this is. So while this looks nice and it follows that same template, it doesn't follow the same thing of letting you know everything you need to know to sign up without having to need anything else more.